Welcome, beautiful Sigma ladies. A Sigma female doesn't raise her voice. She raises the discomfort level of anyone who thought she cared more than she actually did. That line alone captures the silent storm this video is about to unpack. Because here's the truth. Psychologists say the average person spends over 60% of their emotional energy trying to impress, please, or maintain connections they don't even value. But Sigma females, they operate on the opposite frequency. They conserve their emotional fuel the way a billionaire conserves his private jet mileage, only for trips that actually matter. And when a Sigma female couldn't care less, it's not loud, dramatic, or petty. It's surgical, clean, quiet, almost unsettling. She doesn't need to announce she's done. Her behavior becomes so effortlessly detached that people start checking if they accidentally got muted in real life. She's the type who can watch chaos unfold, sip water, and mentally file the entire situation under "not my problem," not because she's cruel, but because she knows where her energy is worth investing, and where it's better to let the universe handle its own homework. This video dives into the 12 extraordinary, non-cliché ways Sigma females show they genuinely couldn't care less, signals most people miss until it's too late. No recycled ideas, no overused stereotypes, just pure, sharp, brutally honest insight into how a Sigma female's indifference works when she's officially checked out. Buckle up, because once you understand these signs, you'll never misread a Sigma female's silence again. Number 1. She doesn't fight for the last word, she gives you the entire sentence. When a Sigma female reaches the point where she truly couldn't care less, the need to dominate a conversation or win an argument evaporates entirely. Most people think that silence or walking away is a sign of weakness or avoidance, but with a Sigma female, it's a deliberate and almost imperceptible strategy. She doesn't interrupt, she doesn't argue back, and she certainly doesn't feel the urge to have the final say. Instead, she lets you speak freely, giving you the entire sentence, the full paragraph, or even the full monologue. Every word you throw out lands without resistance, without commentary, without judgment. It's not because she's disinterested in the content of your speech. It's because she's entirely disinterested in expending energy on someone or something she has mentally checked out of. This is where her brilliance lies. By not fighting for control, she achieves a psychological effect far more powerful than any rebuttal ever could. People around her often feel a strange combination of relief and frustration. Relief, because they think they're being heard and maybe even understood, and frustration, because the usual emotional tug-of-war is completely absent. There's no push, no pull, no tug at your ego, and that creates a subtle, almost invisible dominance. The control isn't in interrupting or correcting, it's in the complete absence of engagement. It's not passive-aggressive, it's absolute indifference executed with precision. She has decided that arguing is a waste, that defending herself is unnecessary, and that the mental space she would spend formulating rebuttals is better invested elsewhere. By giving you the entire sentence, she's silently communicating that your words no longer hold weight in her world, that they're just noise in the background of her carefully curated life. This act of letting someone have the final word isn't surrender. It's a signal of total detachment. It shows that she has reached a level of self-possession where the opinions, arguments, and emotional energy of others simply cannot penetrate her calm, unmoved sphere. And once you realize this, you understand why Sigma females are not just difficult to influence, they are impossible to pull into battles that don't serve them. Number 2. Your presence doesn't change. Her internal temperature. A Sigma female who couldn't care less operates on a level that most people can't even perceive. She doesn't react to drama, emotional manipulation, or attempts to provoke her in the way everyone else expects. Your anger, excitement, jealousy, or flattery has no effect on her. She doesn't get colder or warmer depending on your mood. She doesn't escalate to match your energy. Her internal world remains completely steady, untouched by the highs and lows you try to force upon her. It's not indifference born from ignorance. It's indifference born from choice. She has deliberately chosen to make herself emotionally impenetrable in situations that don't matter, and the result is both fascinating and unsettling to those around her. Most people subconsciously adjust themselves to the emotional climate of the room. They mirror, respond, and react, often without realizing it. But a Sigma female who couldn't care less refuses this unconscious dance. She is emotionally autonomous. She doesn't tiptoe around feelings, she doesn't overcompensate, and she certainly doesn't try to please. Her calm, neutral state is like a perfectly balanced scale. Nothing you say, no gesture you make, not even dramatic displays of emotion, will tilt it. That's why being around her can feel disorienting. People expect feedback, reaction, or at least acknowledgement. She doesn't give it. She doesn't need to. She's already chosen where her energy goes, and it's not toward anyone trying to disrupt her equilibrium. This detachment is subtle, yet incredibly powerful. It communicates more than words ever could. It signals that your actions, your moods, and your attempts to influence her simply don't matter. There's no hostility, no rejection, just a quiet, unshakable autonomy. It's the ultimate form of "I don't care," because it isn't about making a statement. It's about existing in a space where your presence has no power over her. She's emotionally untouchable, and anyone who tries to pierce that barrier quickly realizes they're not just ignored, they're irrelevant. This unbending emotional neutrality is one of the clearest signs that a Sigma female has disengaged. It's not rude, it's not dismissive. It's complete sovereignty over her own inner world, and it leaves everyone else scrambling to figure out how to make an impact when impact simply isn't possible. Number 3, she doesn't pretend to fix the atmosphere. When a Sigma female reaches the point of complete detachment, she stops performing the social gymnastics most people rely on to keep interactions smooth. She no longer feels the need to soften tension, fill awkward silences, or rescue conversations from collapsing. If the energy in a room is off, uncomfortable, or even tense, she lets it remain exactly as it is. There is no forced laughter, no overcompensation, no subtle attempts to make things better. She understands that the effort to fix a situation that doesn't involve her priorities is wasted energy, and she refuses to expend it. Her choice isn't born from rudeness or malice, it's born from clarity. She has discerned what matters and what doesn't, and maintaining atmospheres that serve no purpose falls squarely in the latter category. Most people instinctively try to repair broken moods or smooth over conflict because they fear confrontation or social judgment. But a Sigma female who couldn't care less operates on a completely different standard. She doesn't manipulate the vibe for anyone's comfort, including her own. If the conversation derails, she doesn't step in with empty words to save it. If emotions flare, she doesn't inject herself to calm the storm. She simply exists in the moment without attempting to alter it. This lack of intervention creates an invisible power. Others in the room start to notice that the responsibility for emotional management no longer rests on her. That realization is quietly destabilizing for people who are used to relying on someone else to smooth things over. Her refusal to fix the atmosphere communicates far more than any argument or lecture ever could. It signals that she is emotionally sovereign and fully disengaged from matters that don't serve her. By allowing situations to unfold naturally, without her intervention, she draws a clear boundary. Her energy is reserved for what matters, and everything else can collapse, stagnate, or resolve on its own. This behavior is a hallmark of Sigma-level indifference. It's not showy, It's not loud, but it's incredibly effective. People quickly learn that trying to manipulate, guilt, or pressure her into maintaining harmony is pointless. She doesn't participate in unnecessary effort, and in doing so she asserts a quiet, undeniable dominance over her environment simply by stepping back and letting the world operate without her emotional labor. Number 4. Your compliments lose all access to her reward system. A Sigma female who couldn't care less transforms the way she processes praise and admiration. Normally, compliments can trigger a subtle emotional response, a small boost in attention or connection, but when her detachment reaches this level, those words bounce off her internal radar like raindrops on a windshield. Your praise no longer touches her, no longer stimulates a reaction, no longer feeds any part of her ego or sense of validation. She doesn't reject the compliment rudely, she doesn't argue, she simply absorbs it as neutral information and moves on. The effect is unsettling because it breaks the instinct most people have, that recognition will always land somewhere. This is not about arrogance, it's about sovereignty. She has carefully curated her emotional investments, and once she has decided someone or something no longer warrants her energy, external attempts to engage her attention, flattery, admiration, or even praise, become irrelevant. There is no calculation to impress her, no effort that will yield a reaction, and that realization is quietly destabilizing to anyone who thinks their words still carry weight. A compliment that once might have lit up her attention now passes through her like it never existed. The detachment extends beyond verbal praise. Any gestures meant to draw her in emotionally, to make her feel seen or admired, fail to penetrate the boundary she has drawn. She is completely unmoved, operating on a level where external validation is optional and situational rather than necessary. That makes her presence powerful without her trying, because the usual levers people pull to influence her simply don't work anymore. Your words lose their effect because she has already established where her value and attention lie. She is entirely self-contained. This is why interacting with a Sigma female who doesn't care is like speaking to a force of nature. Your energy is acknowledged but not absorbed, observed but not redirected, noted but not rewarded. It's the ultimate indicator that she has withdrawn interest, not with noise or drama, but with a quiet, impenetrable autonomy that leaves everyone else scrambling for access that no longer exists. Number 5. She doesn't mirror your energy. She mirrors her own. A Sigma female who couldn't care less doesn't conform to the emotional patterns of those around her. Most people naturally mirror others. They laugh when others laugh, tense up when others tense up, get swept along by the collective energy. It's an instinctive social tool, a way to bond and navigate relationships. But when a Sigma female disengages, that instinct shuts down completely. She doesn't adjust her mood, her tone, or her pace to fit anyone else's rhythm. She moves entirely on her own wavelength, and the result is both captivating and unsettling to anyone who expects emotional reciprocity. Her independence in energy is subtle, but impossible to ignore. You might be frantic, dramatic, or emotionally charged, and she remains calm, steady, and unaffected. Your attempts to provoke a reaction, to draw her into tension or excitement, simply fail. She isn't cold or hostile. She just refuses to participate in the emotional cycles that others depend on for connection. Her energy is self-directed, and in a room full of chaos or manipulation, she becomes a quiet, untouchable center. This detachment is powerful because it shifts the dynamic entirely. People around her begin to realize that their usual methods of influence, flattery, guilt, dramatics, or excitement, don't apply. She doesn't mirror them because she doesn't need to, and in refusing, she asserts a form of control far more profound than confrontation ever could. She doesn't compete for attention. She simply exists on a plane that demands respect because it can't be altered by anyone else. Her energy reflects only herself. It's consistent, self-contained, and entirely unresponsive to external pressure. This makes her presence magnetic in a way few understand. She doesn't follow, she doesn't react, she simply is. To anyone trying to engage, impress, or manipulate, it feels like hitting a wall made of calm steel. That's the essence of a Sigma female who couldn't care less. Her emotional autonomy is absolute, and anyone who steps into her world quickly realizes they are operating on her terms or not at all. Number 6. She stops. Fact-checking your excuses. A Sigma female who couldn't care less doesn't waste her energy verifying your stories, explanations, or excuses. When she's invested, she notices inconsistencies, reads between the lines, and mentally files every detail to assess motives and intentions. She tracks patterns, deciphers hidden meanings, and subtly holds people accountable. But when her detachment is complete, all of that stops. She no longer checks the facts, questions your logic, or analyzes your behavior. Your words pass through her like air, unprocessed, unchallenged, and irrelevant. The effort she once invested in understanding or evaluating you is gone, and that absence carries a quiet, unsettling power. This isn't carelessness, it's deliberate choice. She has decided that your excuses, your stories, and your justifications no longer warrant her attention. The mental bandwidth she would have spent dissecting your behavior, uncovering hidden motives, or protecting herself from manipulation is now reserved for matters that truly matter to her. She's stopped engaging with you on that level because she sees no value in it. It's not apathy, it's strategy. Her neutrality communicates that she is entirely untouchable, and your attempts to influence her perception or provoke a reaction are wasted. This detachment also has a subtle psychological effect on those around her. People are used to having their inconsistencies noticed, their lies or half-truths caught, and their behavior analyzed. When a Sigma female stops fact-checking, it creates a strange void. You realize that your usual tactics of manipulation, persuasion, or self-justification no longer work. She doesn't argue, correct, or expose. It's not necessary. Her indifference is enough to dismantle attempts at control without a single word. By ceasing to fact-check, she establishes a boundary that is both invisible and unbreakable. It shows that her attention and judgment are no longer for sale, and anyone who tries to push past that quickly discovers that influence over her is impossible. This behavior is a signature of Sigma-level disengagement, silent, absolute, and devastatingly effective. When she stops verifying your excuses, she isn't just detached, she is untouchable. Number 7. She lets your emotional outbursts hit empty air. When a Sigma female couldn't care less, your emotional outbursts lose all impact. Yelling, guilt-tripping, dramatizing, none of it reaches her. She doesn't respond with anger, defensiveness, or even sympathy. Your attempts to provoke a reaction, to pull her into the chaos, simply fall into empty air. She absorbs nothing, reacts nothing, and lets the storm pass without a single word. This isn't apathy in the ordinary sense. It's complete emotional autonomy. She has deliberately removed herself from the expectation that she must manage, influence, or even acknowledge your heightened energy. Most people instinctively respond to others' emotional intensity. They mirror it, argue against it, or feel compelled to resolve it. A Sigma female bypasses all of that. She doesn't argue. She doesn't try to calm you. She doesn't even notice your attempts to pull her into your world. Her internal state is untouchable, like a perfectly sealed room immune to noise, pressure, and intrusion. This creates a subtle but undeniable psychological effect. You begin to realize that your usual methods of control, manipulation, or attention-seeking simply don't work. Her lack of reaction communicates far more than confrontation ever could. By letting your outbursts hit nothing, she asserts boundaries with absolute clarity. You can expend all the emotional energy you want, but it won't reach her and it won't influence her. The more you escalate, the more it highlights her calm neutrality, her complete detachment, and her unwavering focus on what actually matters to her. It's quiet, almost surgical in precision, and immensely disarming. This behavior also exposes a harsh truth. When a Sigma female doesn't care, your emotional drama has no leverage. She isn't cruel, she isn't cold by accident, and she isn't detached because she can't feel. She simply recognizes the futility of engaging with energy that doesn't serve her. She has created an unbreakable space around herself where emotional storms from others simply cannot penetrate. The effect is both humbling and intimidating. She has mastered the art of letting the world react while she remains untouched, sovereign, and completely unaffected. Number 8. She answers questions but no longer engages curiosity. A Sigma female who couldn't care less operates on a level of emotional detachment that is both subtle and deeply disarming. She will answer your questions if she must, but she no longer invests in curiosity about you or the situation. She doesn't ask follow-ups, she doesn't probe for hidden motives, and she doesn't try to understand the deeper layers of your behavior. Her attention has limits, and once she has decided that something or someone isn't worth her energy, she enforces those limits with quiet precision. You might get the factual response you seek, but the spark of engagement, the curiosity that builds connection, is completely gone. This behavior is unlike typical withdrawal. Many people retreat or shut down emotionally when they lose interest, but a Sigma female maintains functional interaction while silently detaching. She will respond, but her responses are stripped of emotional investment. They're practical, minimal, and devoid of energy that could be used to validate, nurture, or build rapport. She doesn't need to explain herself in detail. She doesn't feel compelled to explore what's happening with you. And she certainly doesn't expend energy trying to interpret your intentions. Your world becomes background noise, observed but not actively engaged with. The absence of curiosity has a psychological effect that is hard to ignore. People naturally rely on curiosity to feel seen and understood, and when that is withdrawn, it creates a subtle sense of disorientation. You begin to realize that your usual methods of drawing attention, eliciting interest, or manipulating emotional investment are ineffective. Her detachment isn't hostile, but it is absolute. She has decided where her energy matters, and curiosity directed elsewhere simply isn't part of it. This level of disengagement communicates a profound message. Her attention is selective, her energy is sovereign, and she doesn't expend it on matters she has deemed unworthy. By continuing to answer questions without engaging curiosity, she preserves functionality while signaling clear emotional boundaries. It's a quiet but unmistakable display of autonomy and power. She interacts without participating, observes without caring, and ensures that the control over attention remains entirely hers. Number 9. She doesn't argue, she redirects her attention. A Sigma female who couldn't care less doesn't get drawn into arguments the way most people do. When she's disengaged, the need to defend, debate, or prove a point disappears entirely. She doesn't see value in spending her energy trying to convince someone who no longer matters to her. Instead of fighting, she redirects her focus to something that actually deserves her attention. This isn't avoidance, it's strategic detachment. By refusing to participate in pointless conflict, she conserves her energy and communicates a subtle but powerful message. Your attempt to involve me in drama is irrelevant. Her method is both calm and unnerving. While others might escalate, complain, or try to push back, she moves effortlessly toward priorities that serve her goals or interests. She doesn't argue to prove dominance or to protect her ego, because she has transcended the need for external validation. When someone tries to provoke a reaction, she simply shifts her focus elsewhere, leaving the conflict unresolved, not because she fears it, but because it no longer commands her attention. Her redirection is quiet, almost invisible, but it carries an unmistakable authority. People around her quickly realize that trying to draw her into confrontation is pointless. She is emotionally and mentally operating on an entirely different plane. This behavior also alters the dynamic of any interaction. By refusing to engage in argument, she destabilizes the usual power play. People expect pushback, debate, or resistance. When they don't get it, they are forced to confront the futility of their tactics. Her detachment becomes a mirror, showing the triviality of their attempts to manipulate or control the situation. She doesn't need to raise her voice or make dramatic exits. Her calm focus on what matters is enough to assert dominance without confrontation. By redirecting her attention, a Sigma female demonstrates total control over her energy and priorities. She interacts only where it benefits her, and the rest is left to run its course without interference. It's a rare and extraordinary display of emotional sovereignty, quiet, precise, and utterly unshakable. This is how a Sigma female shows she couldn't care less, not with anger, but with an unyielding focus on her own path, leaving everyone else chasing shadows. Number 10. You feel the emotional airlock close. When a Sigma female has reached the point of complete detachment, interacting with her feels like encountering an invisible barrier, a psychological airlock that seals off her emotions and attention from anyone she has decided no longer matters. This isn't about hostility, drama, or passive aggression. It's a precise, almost surgical form of disengagement. You might try to connect, provoke, or influence her, but all your efforts hit an invisible wall. She has carefully controlled her internal space, and once the airlock is closed, your presence, your words, and your emotions simply cannot penetrate it. This emotional airlock is both subtle and profound. It isn't loud or obvious, but its effect is immediately felt. Conversations may continue, interactions may happen, but they are stripped of depth, warmth, and genuine engagement. She is present physically, yet entirely elsewhere, mentally and emotionally. Her detachment is complete. It's a space where she observes without reacting and interacts without involvement. The sense of distance isn't accidental. It's a carefully maintained boundary that communicates one thing clearly. Her energy is no longer accessible to you. Most people expect emotional reciprocity. They rely on subtle cues, reactions, and engagement to gauge connection and influence. When a Sigma female closes this airlock, all those expectations fail. There is no feedback loop, no emotional reflection, and no opportunity to manipulate or sway her. The experience is disorienting for anyone used to eliciting reactions, because suddenly, the rules have changed. You are left realizing that your usual methods of impact are useless, that the emotional space you once occupied in her life has been firmly sealed off. This airlock is a hallmark of Sigma-level detachment, silent, invisible, and unbreakable. It is a demonstration of absolute control over her emotional and mental environment. Nothing from the outside can disturb her equilibrium, and anyone who attempts to breach it only highlights the futility of trying to engage a Sigma female who has truly stopped caring. It's not just withdrawal, it's a sovereign, impenetrable state that leaves others on the outside, watching, frustrated, and entirely irrelevant. Number 11. She stops editing herself for your comfort. A Sigma female who couldn't care less doesn't soften her words, dilute her tone, or tailor her behavior to make others feel comfortable. She speaks plainly, directly, and unapologetically, and her honesty is no longer filtered through the lens of your feelings. In normal interactions, most people instinctively adjust themselves to avoid conflict, maintain peace, or protect someone else's ego. She doesn't. When she's detached, the effort to perform emotional gymnastics for your benefit becomes completely unnecessary. Her words, her tone, and her presence are all delivered with raw clarity, and that unfiltered truth can be shocking to those used to navigating layers of social polishing. This behavior signals complete autonomy. She no longer negotiates her reactions or edits her expressions to fit someone else's expectations. If something bothers her, she states it plainly. If she finds an idea foolish, she points it out without hesitation. There is no sugarcoating, no pretending, and no effort to make your comfort a priority. That doesn't mean she's cruel. It means her energy is reserved for realities that matter to her, and protecting someone else from the truth is no longer worth it. Her focus is entirely inward and intentional, and the absence of self-censorship reflects the ultimate level of detachment. She has stopped investing in emotional management for anyone outside her own priorities. The effect on others is striking. People accustomed to subtle manipulation, half-truths, or filtered interactions quickly notice the difference. Her words hit with clarity and precision because there's no extra padding. There's no emotional safety net to soften the blow. In her indifference, she communicates power. She doesn't need approval. She doesn't seek validation. And she doesn't care about making anyone else feel comfortable at her expense. This unfiltered presence creates a rare combination of fear, respect, and intrigue. It is a defining marker of a Sigma female's emotional sovereignty. She isn't trying to dominate or intimidate. She simply operates entirely on her own terms. By stopping the editing of herself for your comfort, she demonstrates a level of honesty, independence, and detachment that is disarming, unforgettable, and utterly untouchable. Number 12. She doesn't leave dramatically. She leaves logically. A Sigma female who couldn't care less doesn't make grand exits or create dramatic scenes to signal her detachment. She doesn't slam doors, post emotional outbursts, or craft attention-seeking moments to announce her disengagement. Her departure is quiet, calculated, and entirely logical. She leaves not to punish or provoke, but because she has mentally assessed the situation, determined her energy is better spent elsewhere, and acted accordingly. There's no spectacle because she doesn't need one. Her absence alone communicates more than any display ever could. Her detachment is precise. She disengages not through emotion, but through reason, making the decision to remove herself from situations, people, or conflicts that no longer deserve her focus. This type of exit is subtle, yet its impact is undeniable. Those left behind often realize too late that her presence is gone, and with it, the emotional access and influence they once assumed they had. She doesn't leave a trail of chaos. She leaves a vacuum, and the emptiness itself carries weight. The power of her logic-driven exit lies in its invisibility. People are left trying to trace what happened, why she no longer engages, and how they failed to notice the signs of her withdrawal. Unlike conventional exits fueled by emotion, her departure is deliberate and final. It's a testament to her mastery over her own energy and attention. She doesn't need to dramatize the situation to enforce her boundaries. By leaving logically, she demonstrates that her involvement is a choice, not a given. And once she decides it's over, no emotional theatrics are necessary to communicate that truth. This method also reinforces her independence. She remains in full control of her actions, timing, and reactions, proving that detachment doesn't require spectacle. It requires clarity, decisiveness, and self-possession. When a Sigma female doesn't care, she leaves efficiently, silently, and with absolute authority. Her departure is an invisible but indelible mark of sovereignty, leaving others to reckon with the absence of someone who once mattered without ever needing to witness the drama. The ways a Sigma female shows she couldn't care less are not loud, flashy, or easily noticed. They are subtle, precise, and devastatingly effective. From letting your words flow without resistance, to maintaining an unshakable emotional equilibrium, to leaving situations quietly yet decisively, her indifference is a masterclass in self-possession and autonomy. Each behavior, each boundary, and each choice reflects a deep understanding of where her energy matters and where it doesn't. She doesn't need to argue, manipulate, or dramatize to make a point. Her calm detachment, logical decisions, and complete control over her own emotional landscape do all the talking for her. The power of a Sigma female lies not in confrontation, but in the quiet, undeniable force of her independence and the unassailable boundaries she sets. Recognizing these signs is not just fascinating, it's transformative. Understanding how a Sigma female operates when she doesn't care allows you to see relationships, interactions, and social dynamics in a completely new light. It forces respect for her autonomy, admiration for her self-control, and a subtle fear for anyone who attempts to manipulate or misread her. This is a level of emotional mastery most people never achieve, and witnessing it in action leaves a lasting impression that is both humbling and eye-opening. So, if you found this deep dive into the extraordinary behaviors of Sigma females intriguing, enlightening, or even a little unsettling, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel for more brutally honest insights that go beyond the cliches and surface-level understanding. Hit the like button if this content resonated with you. Drop a comment sharing your thoughts or experiences, and share it with friends who need to understand the enigmatic world of Sigma dynamics. This is more than just information. It's a lens into power, independence, and the art of caring only where it truly counts. Stay curious, stay observant, and never underestimate the quiet, unstoppable force of a Sigma female who has decided she couldn't care less.